considering how much people buy off Amazon, it would be so confusing to do it that way. Like just
Well, and
separate
also
everything.
it also adds to this worrying trend of the very large number. I can't remember what it was. They came out recently of people who are defaulting on their credit cards now.
Right.
Okay, so you got a tsunami going on. You got inflation. You got people with low wages. You got people paying things with their credit cards, and you got people who don't even check their credit cards. So they're just paying a balance every month that probably it's legit. But if you never take a look and you have subscriptions on there that maybe you legitimately signed up for, but you don't realize that you're still paying for them months and months or years later, like the commercial. Oh, that was my girlfriend's and we broke up 2 years ago, or some stupid essay like that. How could you not know that? Well, because people don't reconcile it. They just pay the balance. They see it on their phone, and as long as it's within some parameter that they can afford, they just pay it.
The one that
Oh,
still is crazy to me is people who only pay the minimums. Have you ever seen that? Like the people that
yeah.
they'll like, I forget who it was, and it was a long time ago, so thank God. I hope they fixed it. But they bought, I forget what it was. It was like a TV or something, and they only paid the minimum. So every month they were like, I don't have to pay it off because I'll just keep paying the minimum. I was like, I don't like even back then. I was like, when I know nothing about credit cards, this is back in college. I was
Yeah.
like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So yeah, very very strange how some people.
Well, I mean, credit cards are an interest-free loan until you have to pay it at the end of the month, right? So if you buy a TV December 1st with a credit card, you technically did not pay a dime out of your pocket for an entire month until you get your bill,
Mhm.
and then you pay for it. So it's a small, like, interest-free loan for a month. But if you don't pay it, now it's a really expensive loan because credit card rates are some of the highest. And now it's worse than if you got a loan at the bank to go buy that TV or whatever and paid for it that way. So that's the part that people don't understand. When if you pay the minimum, well, the balance just keeps accruing interest at a ridiculous rate.
Right.
And everybody knows that. So that's why I've always said to you guys, my sons, you included, that I don't care. You always pay it off. If you have, if you don't have the money, you let us know. We pay it because I refuse to.
Yeah,
It's like almost
the banks,
usury.
yeah. Like so one of the big I remember this statistic, college debt's a big issue like for our $1 trillion debt. The personal debt, credit card debt is number 2, I believe. It's insane how much people rack up in credit card debt. Like mentally it's such an unfathomable amount of money that people will just put on credit cards that they don't have. Like
Well,
it's
right
insane.
now, a lot of people are doing it because they literally
Can't
can't
afford it.
afford
Right.
things, right? So they have a credit card. They throw it on their credit card and they'll pay it when times are good again. Like they're, hoping for the next administration or
Well,
next year or
well,
whatever.
I'm talking even more astronomical than that. Like in the sense of things that they'll put on a credit card that there's no way that they can pay off at any point. Like I was watching, I forget the guy's name. He's a famous YouTuber who does a lot of finance. David Ramsey. I don't know if you know him,
Oh yeah,
but
I know.
he had like a, it was a person where this husband and wife they had sports cars like $500,000 in sports cars, but they only made like 70,000 a year. So they have one of those Discover cards or not Discover, what are they called? The black cards, the Amex cards that doesn't have a limit. So they would just keep
Right.
paying the minimums. And it's like, how'd the bank allow that? I mean, usually they
Yeah.
put a stop to it at some point, but they put themselves in insane debt that they just couldn't get out of. And it's like, David Ramsey's like, okay, I hate to break this to you, but if you want to get out of this, I'm about to destroy your life because you
But
got to
you
get
have
rid
to
of these cars.
understand something, because you and I and others who pay it off, we're quote unquote good customers, but then again, they're not making any money on you and me other than the transaction that they
Right,
get from the vendors. Where they make money is interest and stuff like that, and late fees and all
right.
that. That's the extra,
Well,
right?
that's why those Amex cards are so dangerous because those don't have a limit, and a lot of people forget what their limits are, I guess, because it doesn't
Right.
stop or
They're a little
anything.
bit different. They're not like a finite amount. They let you roll over a certain amount at a certain rate, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. So they're a little bit trickier. But usually you have to be, well, in the old days you had to be at a certain level to get an Amex card. They didn't just, that wasn't your basic credit card. Now I think they give it to anybody because they love the people that just rack it up, rack it up. However, when people just walk away, who pays for that? You and me.
Right.
That's what make the rates go up. That's just the absurdity of it, and that's why they really do need to crack down. There was a time when you had to quote unquote qualify for a credit card. Well, look at people out there now. They have 3, 4, and 5 credit cards, and they put balances on all of them because they don't have money.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the people that open up new credit cards just to get like the free, we'll give you the free $1,000 the first time, and then you pay 5% back afterwards. It's like, oh yeah, you fell for that.
Right, but you have to understand something. If you're desperate, right?
Yeah, no,
You have
I
to
get
feed the
that.
family, and you don't have a job, or your job doesn't pay enough. I'll take a credit card. It's like worries
Yeah.
down the road. And now you have this
See,
new
you
phenomena
and I,
of I'll just default. I'll
you and
just
I are
walk away.
you and I are talking about two different types of people. You're talking about families in dire straits. I'm talking about kids in college that I knew who just wanted more money and were opening up credit cards left and right.
Well, scary thing too, because when I look at the online betting stuff,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I didn't even understand some of the things with that, because I grill these people when I call them whenever I see charges that I don't know, and I want to understand how you calculated that finance. I got moved to a manager one time, and she's literally walked me through the mathematics of it. But with the online betting, they treat that as a cash advance, so boom, right off the
Right,
bat.
that's how I got screwed.
You're charging a fee and a finance charge and everything else. Well, who knows this unless you have it happen and you Google it? And back to what I originally said, think of all the young people who do this online betting. They don't know. They're not even looking at their statement. They just see a number that they pay every month and they move on to the next month. That's the kind of stuff where, and let's assume they can afford it, but they could be paying for charges on there they have no idea they're incurring. They're legal charges, but because they're not even looking at their statement to question it or understand some of these charges, it goes back to what we said before, and actually it's a good segue for another article, but they're not teaching this. This is basic home economics. How to balance a checkbook. How does a credit card work? How does a mortgage? We've talked this many times. Young people don't learn this. They may not be learning it from their parents because I think not even your generation, the generation between you and me, they didn't learn it either. And they're now having kids who are not understanding what's supposed to, because their parents don't understand it.
Well, it's also,
and they're racking up debt.
I also wonder how many people still write checks nowadays. Like checks, no offense, but your generation's probably the last one writing checks.
Yeah, and very few of them. I mean, I just was cleaning out the drawers here for the holidays, the beginning of the new year.
Right.
I must have like 30 checkbooks. You pre-order them and they come in packs of 30. I barely use checks anymore. I do everything like you guys online.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is a waste. I'm going to outlive all these checks. And that's fine.
Right.
It's okay. Every now and then you do need a check. But I'll tell you what's interesting. The pendulum always swings back. It's more expensive to use a credit card.
Oh, yeah.
When you go to a hairdresser now, they want cash, or you got to pay a 5% charge, right?
Yeah.
Restaurants, when people go out, and maybe people are learning this now. When you go to a restaurant, if you pay with a credit card, check that bill. They probably tacked on an extra percentage. If you bring cash, you don't have to pay as much.
Yeah.
But people don't have to pay.
Cash is king.
They're used to that.
Well,
cash is king.
Well, yeah. I was going to say, if you have a bank account and you have a savings, then you could take out cash. But you're saying when you don't have the cash and you're using credit cards over your limits.
Right. Yeah. But, and that's where we go back to, do you have to go out to dinner, multiple times in a month when you can't pay a credit card bill?
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's that. So this is kind of what I was talking about before. It's like, this is something I don't think I mentally will understand the mentality of certain people. Say you have $70,000 in your bank account, and tell me if I'm crazy here. You're not looking at Lamborghinis. Yeah. You can't be paying for a Lamborghini. So that's what I mean. Like those credit cards that I was talking about, the people that were way over, that made no sense, are people that do that. I'm not talking about the people that are just struggling to make ends meet.
They're not necessarily buying a Lamborghini. What they do is they lease it for $4,000 a month and they put it on their credit card. And they can't afford that, right? Plus they put their mortgage or whatever else they put on there. There is this phenomena that I would say is coming from the younger generations, and mine's caught up in it too. There's no accountability anymore. If I can't pay the bill, I'll walk away. What are they going to do? There's really not much they could do to you. And that's wrong. That's really wrong. And shame on these credit card companies for allowing people. There should be, what happened to a credit limit? But people reach their credit limit, they don't pay it, and then the interest just accrues and
Yeah.
accrues and accrues.
What's also weird is with a credit limit, you could still go over that credit. Like they usually it's for emergencies. Like let's say I was pinned some credit cards. In fact, most I believe will still let you go over. Let's say you have $1,000 limit. If you keep using that card, they'll still use it, but the interest goes higher.
Right. And that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. And that's how people are getting into this because there's no accountability.
No.
There is no asset tied to that credit card other than, oh, you're going to have to go into repossession of items. I mean, come on. Maybe they'll take it back to Lamborghini, but it's not the credit card company that takes it back. It's the original seller that would take it back. So the way it's set up, and now you add to it this mentality of people who, number one, who can't afford it or who don't care and will keep racking it up, and zero accountability.
Right.
That's why this credit card, they're going to have to rein this in because you and I are going to get sick of paying the extra fees and charges and everything if they have to start whacking it up and assessing it to you and me.